right, so you've probably got some questions. This is a tractor that we are going to use to mow hay with. This is the first tractor of this series, the newer style, the 7R, 8R, 9R, they all, well, the 6Rs and the 5Rs as well. But this is our first one. They had changed this model maybe 4 or 5 years ago when they introduced this series. I shouldn't say model, series. When they introduced these new series, I got invited to go out into Ohio to view them when they first came out. And guys from Deere says, well, you know, what do you think? Is it something you would get? I said, yeah, we will. He said, oh, no kidding. I said, yeah, in about 5 years. And here's where we're at. So this unit here is an 8R 340. We bought this through Seidenstricker, our local John Deere dealer. This is a used tractor. It's got just under 700 hours on it. It has not been used all that much. We would put that many hours on in less than a year. It is a couple years old. However, it looks like brand new. The front hitch on here has not been used. So it's a 3-point hitch for the front mower on a Pottinger triple mower setup. And then of course it also has a PTO. In order to get into the PTO, we just have to remove this bracket here. This PTO has not been used. You can see the paint is all still on the shaft. The shaft cover has not been removed. And it doesn't look like this tractor's been used much at all. We'll get in it in a minute here. We did learn something, however. This is something that everybody that has gotten into these 8000 series tractors have learned. And that is the PTO on the front end spins in the opposite direction than what a 7000 series tractor spins in. I'm sure the larger scale farmers that buy these regularly know that. But I don't know the reasoning in behind that. So what they did with this tractor is they ended up narrowing up the wheels so that when they trucked it, it wasn't over width. We are right at like 10'6" here right now. I don't know really why they had to do it, because the axles are at, you know, they would be over width. But we needed to widen this up so that when we knock hay down with the front mower, we can straddle it with the tires, but we don't want to be out too wide, because that front mower is only going to cut a swath up to about here, and we don't want to be driving over hay with this outside part of the tire. Now you might be saying, what are you going to do with the front? Well, that is a good question. This tractor has 710 rubber on the rear. We have 800 rubber on the four-wheel drive tractors, 2 of them that we have. This tractor does not have duals. So with the 710s that they run on the rear, you run a 600 tire on the front. However, this deep dish wheel is not adjustable. It is adjustable if you take it off and put it on the other side, but it's going to make it narrower. Again, we did not know that either. That is an option to get the adjustable front wheel rim. So there is a spacer that you can get to set on that front hub to kick this wheel out. We need to get it out maybe 5 inches or somewhere thereabout. The front tire is 2 foot wide and the rear tire is 30 inches wide. So we don't want the outside of this front tire out there at the outside of the rear wheel tire, because then that'll be off a little bit. But yeah, we're right around 24 inches. So we did not know that either from the pictures that we had online. We knew the rear axle was adjustable, and we figured as long as the rear axle was adjustable, the front axle must be as well. So this is 340 horsepower. The other 2 tractors that we have with front hitches on them, the 7930 is right around 180, and the 7290 is somewhere around at 290. The largest front hitch PTO tractor that you can get in the 7R series is a 310. We looked at a few of those as well. Now my brother is the one that found this tractor. We had been talking, it's like, look, it's these 2 tractors that we have to mow hay with, they're getting old. I said, well, we better buy one. Why don't you look for one? So that's what he did. He'd been looking for quite a while. We had been talking back and forth, everything that he found. We talked back and forth between the 3 of us and my nephews and everything else. And this was the tractor that fit the bill. Hour-wise, it was right there. Dollar-wise, it matched. It checked all the boxes. However, the one thing that we did not know was the PTO spun in the opposite direction. And we couldn't tell from the pictures. We didn't even know that those front wheels were the style wheel that they were. Now, it would be real interesting if you had an older 8000 series tractor that you bought used that had 5, 6, 7,000 hours on it, and you bought a triple mower, and you started milking more cows, and then you had decided that, hey, it's time to buy a new tractor. So you get with your salesman and you say, oh, this 8235 or 8245 is not quite got the amount of power that I need. And I think I want a 7R series tractor to mow hay with. This is about what everybody uses. So you buy a brand new 7R 310. You get it delivered to you, and you realize, oh boy, this PTO on this 7R spins in the opposite direction as my 8. Now I got to change my gearbox on my mower. Why didn't the salesman tell me that? Maybe I would have bought an 8R instead. Cost more money. You could have bought an 8R instead. Some of the guys, they love the 8R over the 7R, and some of the guys like the 7R over the 8R for cutting hay. A little longer wheelbase, and the guys cry and whine, the prima donnas that like the 7Rs, they cry and whine, and they'll say that the 8R is too long and their flip-flops fall off when they're cutting hay, and they like the 7R for that reason. So while we go for a little ride in this, I'll get the door open, but this design is a lot nicer than the series that was before it. The graphics are quite a bit different, and they're just really sharp. They changed the lights, the mirrors, This does have an integrated receiver on it, and it also has the larger display. Let's get the door open. We'll take this for a little ride. Now, this tractor came from Richter and Schnell out of Wisconsin, but we bought this through S&P, Seidenstricker, and Nobe through our local dealership. This tractor was the same price from our dealership that it would have been, because my brother called these guys out at Richter and Schnell, and he tried to buy this direct, and he could not. They wouldn't budge on price. So our dealer gave us a better price on it. So tractors like this, I think the newer ones, I think there's a fair amount of them that Deere owns themselves, and I think Deere gets involved, and they say, hey, look, you're going to sell this, you're going to let that tractor go, and this dealer is going to sell it, and so on and so forth. Unless they did a little horse trading, I don't know. But let's get the overhead door open. We'll jump up inside the cab. We'll show you some of the creature comforts, and then we've got to wait to get our wheel spacers and what have you for the front end, and then we've got to change a gearbox on the front mower, which is not a big deal. If we wanted to go to an 8R tractor anyways. My brother did price a couple of red tractors, but they just could not get to the price that we needed to be at, and we ended up buying a Deere. We wanted really bad to try a Case International, because, you know, it's hard to talk crap about something if you have not used it, but we just couldn't get the price we needed to be able to buy it. So we also checked into Fendt and Massey Ferguson, and I heard that Massey Ferguson has got some wiring problems, and we also heard that Fendt is not as good of a tractor as they claim it to be, but we don't know that either. So we ended up with a Deere again. So let's get the overhead door open and we'll go for a ride in this. All right, so we'll just swing around the back side of this tractor. This does have a 3-speed PTO. It's not really the correct terminology for it, but it has the large 1000 shaft is in there now. It has the ability to run the small 1000 shaft, and it also has the ability to bolt the 540 PTO box onto it. The 320, our 8320R has that option, along with the 7930 and the 8110. Some of these 8000 series tractors, they can be from the factory 8000 or 1000, large 1000 only. This is a John Deere Signature Series Edition cab. Now, that's just how the tractor was ordered. It's got all of the options on it that you can get. When I went out to Ohio, when these tractors were debuted, one of the things they changed was they put the door handle down at the bottom of the door instead of it being up there. The one advantage to that is you can open the door before you start to climb up into the tractor, but the only problem with that is it's hard to get used to when you go to shut the door. You go to get out and you go to grab onto that outer door handle to close it, and it doesn't work. So we'll get that park brake safety removed. It's got the foot pegs in it. That's a benefit to you and her. However, it has a rather small steering wheel. This does have the leather interior, which is neither here nor there. I could take it or leave it. The 8320R has the leather interior, and the 9620R has it, along with the chopper that we've got. They have improved the seat. The seat turns a lot farther than the other tractors. So that makes it really nice for watching a piece of equipment. You can really turn the seat to where, you know, the other ones, they only go to about here. Larger display, which the 8320R has that, 9620R. Now the radio, which is here or there. I don't even use the radio, and any of the tractors I run, shade, or is that a shade? The shade's over here. Just basic stuff here. The mirrors are a little different looking. Now Jared, he opened up this here. This is where the owner's manuals are. And that's all that's in there. And a clipboard ended up coming out, whacking him in the face. This does have the IVT transmission. That's something my brother wanted. I'm not sure on this particular model if you're able to, I think you're able to order it with the E23. I know on the 410, they do not offer the IVT transmission. They had said that 410 was too much horsepower for the IVT transmission. Cutting hay and doing that kind of stuff, the IVT is a better transmission to cut hay with. So this tractor comes right in at 33,000 pounds. It doesn't have much weight added to it. It just has 1,400 pound weights on the inside of the rear axle. But other than that, it's got the fender flares on it, or the fender extensions, the larger fenders up front. I did move out the flashers that are on the fenders. Those are a real nice design. They're better than the other ones. Got some added accessory plugs here. I know they talked about that here. They've got your coffee holders, which this is nice for the guys that like to drink out of a can. Looks like a can will fit in that holder there very nicely. And this also has, which I just noticed, it does not have the reverser on the steering wheel. This also has a refrigerator, which, take it or leave it. 300 watt, 120 volt plug, cigarette lighter. The buddy seat has not been used by the looks of it. I don't know what you put in that little compartment, but yeah. So we'll join back up with you when we get our wheel spacers on this. The 3-point hitch also has a hydraulic cylinder for the third link, which that just allows you to be able to tip that forward or backwards when you're going to hook on to something. So there'll be more to come with this here coming down the road, but nicer hood design to look over. But yeah, all right,